The Banker is a historical drama inspired by true events that took place in the United States during the 1950s and 1960s. The film tells the story of two African-American entrepreneurs, Bernard Garrett and Joe Morris, who challenged systemic racism in the American financial and real estate sectors. Their bold actions helped open financial opportunities for the Black community during a time of intense segregation. The story begins in Texas in the early 1950s. Bernard Garrett is a highly intelligent man with a passion for numbers and economics. From a young age, he dreams of becoming a real estate investor, something that is almost impossible for a Black man in the Jim Crow era, where African Americans are denied basic opportunities, especially property ownership. Bernard works as a shoe shiner at a local shop. Even though he shines shoes, he listens carefully to the wealthy white businessmen who sit in his chair, absorbing their conversations about money, property, and investments. He studies economics on his own and eventually becomes determined to find a way into the business world. However, when he tries to pursue his ambitions, he faces constant racial rejection. Banks refuse to lend to him, and opportunities are blocked simply because of his skin color. Frustrated but determined, Bernard decides to leave Texas and moves to Los Angeles with his wife Eunice and their son. In Los Angeles, Bernard begins analyzing real estate as if it were a mathematical game. He studies building values, neighborhoods, and investment patterns. One day, he discovers a large commercial building located in a prime area. He wants to buy it, but again, no bank will lend money to a Black man for such a large purchase. This leads Bernard to a bold new idea. If society will not listen to him because he is Black, then he will find a white frontman, someone who will represent him publicly while Bernard continues managing the business from behind the scenes. Bernard approaches the building owner but is rejected again until he meets Patrick Barker, a white banker who is sympathetic and somewhat progressive for the time. Bernard convinces Barker to work with him, and with Eunice's encouragement, he moves forward. Eventually, Bernard successfully purchases the building, marking his entrance into the real estate world. His analytical skills and strategic thinking allow him to grow quickly. As Bernard continues expanding his business, he realizes he needs more capital and a partner with business experience, someone who understands networking and negotiation. This is when he meets Joe Morris, a wealthy African-American entrepreneur and nightclub owner. Morris is everything Bernard is not: flashy, socially connected, confident, and experienced in maneuvering around racist systems. He also understands the importance of appearances, how dressing, speaking, and presenting oneself can influence white society. At first, Morris seems uninterested, thinking Bernard's plan is risky and unrealistic. But after seeing Bernard's determination, intelligence, and potential financial upside, Morris agrees to become partners. Together, they refine a system. Bernard will analyze investments and run operations. Morris will help with funding socially and publicly, and the actual public face of the company, the man white society will see, will be a trained white employee. Bernard and Joe recruit Matt Steiner, a white working-class man with no financial experience. They train him intensely to speak, walk, think, and negotiate like a banker and real estate investor. Matt spends hours studying economics, mathematics, and business etiquette. Joe teaches him luxury social behavior, how to play golf, how to order wine, how to present confidence. Bernard teaches him complex financial strategies and real estate investment systems. Matt learns quickly but struggles with the enormous pressure of pretending to be something he isn't. Still, he becomes good enough to fool wealthy white bankers and investors. With Matt acting as the face of their company, Bernard and Joe begin acquiring multiple properties across Los Angeles. They quietly build one of the largest real estate portfolios in the area, yet their true identities remain hidden. Their success brings them wealth and influence. Bernard begins to feel that his dream is not only personal anymore, it represents progress for the entire Black community. But Bernard wants to go further. His bigger dream is to change the system, not just participate in it. He wants to help African Americans access loans and opportunities that were historically denied to them. To do that, he realizes he must buy a bank. Bernard returns to Texas with Joe and Matt. His goal is to purchase a bank in his segregated hometown area where African Americans are routinely denied loans, preventing them from owning homes or starting businesses. Together, the trio purchases the mainland bank using their same strategy. Matt acts as the public owner while Bernard and Joe secretly lead operations. Once they gain control, they begin issuing loans to black residents who were previously rejected. Families purchase homes. Entrepreneurs start businesses. The black community begins gaining economic independence. Bernard and Joe then push even further and acquire a second bank, expanding their influence even more. For a moment, it seems like everything is working. However, success brings attention, and attention brings scrutiny. Matt, gaining confidence and ego, makes risky financial decisions without consulting Bernard or Joe. His mistakes create irregularities that federal regulators notice. White competitors and officials become suspicious. They begin investigating the ownership structure of the banks. Eventually, the authorities uncover the truth. The banks are secretly controlled by two African American men. Because racial prejudice influences the legal interpretation, Bernard and Joe are charged not with fraud in the modern ethical sense, but with violating laws meant to maintain segregation and white financial control. They are forced into court. Matt testifies but struggles emotionally, feeling guilt for not standing up earlier. The trial becomes symbolic, not just about business, but about whether black Americans have the right to participate in the financial system. Bernard delivers a powerful speech expressing that all he ever wanted was equal opportunity, not privilege, not revenge, just a fair chance. Despite his argument, Bernard and Joe are sentenced and go to prison. The film ends with the acknowledgement that although they were punished, their actions began a financial rights movement. By the mid-1960s, their efforts inspired legislative changes and helped African Americans gain access to banking services, business loans, and property ownership. Bernard Garrett later testified before Congress in support of banking equality laws. Their courage helped open the door to financial inclusion, not only for themselves, but for future generations. The Banker is a story about intelligence, courage, and persistence in the face of racial oppression. It shows how financial power can influence freedom and how challenging the system can change history, even if the journey involves sacrifice. The film reminds us that progress often comes from those willing to break barriers, take risks, and fight for a fairer world.